Welcome, everybody, back to the Burns and Skelton Show, better known as BS Nation. We've been out for a little bit, but we're glad to be back with you. We're in studio here, Matt and I, and we're going to talk a bunch of little things today, talk about some Camden County stuff, and see what we've got going on in the near future. How you doing today, Matt?
Pretty good.
Man, it's been a little while since we've done this.
It has, and we're going to try to knock out a few shows and get those back on Key Radio and some other places. And a lot of the information, I mean, it seems like there's always something to talk about at Camden County. It's like, I guess if you were in journalism or just information gathering, it's a pretty good thing because there's never not a story out there, I guess you might say.
Plenty of stuff to do, and the more you involve yourself in various areas around the lake, you'll find out that there's a lot of neat things going on and a lot of things to talk about. We had an interesting meeting out at the Village of Four Seasons the other day, and a good media partner, as it were, Dave Maupin of Among the Dogwoods blog was there, and he did a pretty good report on what happened. So
do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah,
what led up to that?
So come to find out that so in the Horseshoe Bend Road area, there is a special road district, and those folks out there are actually assessed an additional 35 cents per whatever evaluation that they do, and for their taxes, and that is directly to go to the roads and bridges in the Horseshoe Bend area for their special road district, above and beyond the 11 cents that is already assessed throughout the county. So they get their 35 cents, and that money comes through the county. It's called CART funds, and the money comes, this is for the gasoline tax that is distributed. The money comes from the state, and it goes through the county, and then we distribute it down to the village, and the village is supposed to give it to the road district. Now, through all of this process, interestingly enough, I'm thinking that we may not have to go through the village in the future. We may be able to go just directly to the road district and give them the funds.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. I've been going back and forth in a debate with, guy we know on social media, and he says that you can't do that. You have to send it to the village, and maybe that's right. Maybe it isn't. What I have found over the last number of years, all of these things that we think we know are not exactly the way that we think we know. Yeah. There's a lot of black and white, a lot of gray area. And does the village have some sort of authority over the road and bridge district in Horseshoe Bend? I mean, why does it need to go to them to be a middleman to disperse money? That doesn't even make good sense unless they have control over the money.
Well, that's a good question, and I don't think, I know that the county's attorney is going to be looking into it to find out for sure. I don't know that we have a good answer to that, other than how government likes to have various layers into it, and some of those layers are good for checks and balances, and some of them just seem to be bureaucratic layers to basically slow things down or just, throw some gum into the machine or whatever, but so I'm not against these different layers just because of the potential for some sort of whatever to go on, shenanigans to go on, but yet at the same time, it seems like the shenanigans may be going on right here at this district because at this village, because there's a 5-member board of trustees for the village.
Okay.
And it seems as though that 2 of the members of that board, as well as the clerk of the village, who is not a member of the board, is just the village clerk. It seems as though they have known and, to use a fancy word, may have colluded to hold on to that monies with what I believe is a false understanding that they can spend the money somehow on something other than the road and bridge, when in reality, the statute covering that, which is Missouri Statute 231.441, clearly states that county receipts from County Aid Road Trust Fund, or CART, how expended, all monies received by a county from the County Aid Road Trust Fund shall be used within the county solely for the construction, reconstruction, maintenance, and repairs of roads, bridges, and highways as the county commission shall direct. The county commission shall formulate by written regulations, rules, and policies for the use of such funds, which shall be kept on file by the county recorder for public inspection. So here's the thing, as far as I'm concerned, And that statute right there says that the money has to go to road and bridge, period. There isn't anything else you can use it for. Now, they allegedly dug up something that says maybe they can use it for lighting or policing or something of this nature. But another attorney, I believe, has had the opinion that that is only if you have your own maintenance department within the village, and they do not. The county, even though those folks out there are the Horseshoe Bend Special Road District, they are still Camden County employees.
Is that the only state statute that talks about that? In other words, is there some state statute that directly orders the county to send these funds to the village, and then for the village to disperse to the road district? Does that exist? And if so, and the county were to not do that, what would the penalty be? So do either of those two factors play in, or can the county, by, it seems like rule, because it says something about the county establishes rules and procedures, can the county just change those rules and procedures and say, we're sending the money directly to this road district? Is there a statute out there that's lurking around that we don't know about that requires it to go to the village?
I'm not aware of one that is. We're going to continue to look at this and find out, because that sparked my interest. Another thing coming in with all of this that I'm finding is that even though, this statute might say the county commission shall formulate by written regulations, or as the county commission shall direct, doesn't necessarily mean that Camden County has anything in writing like they're supposed to. I have found in a few different instances that, look, and they're here, I hate these words, but we're going to use them often, right? This is what we've always done before. This is just the way we've been doing it.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
And I think some friend of mine told me that, they say that enough to the point where you almost start to institutionalize doing things the wrong way, because that's the way we've always done it. And
you've normalized doing it wrong.
You've normalized doing it wrong. That's exactly correct. So, maybe that was the exact words my friend used. So anyhow, so we're going to look into that and find out. Now, the only other thing is that there is, there's an obligation on the part of Missouri townships to pay over all of the CART funds. The text of the Missouri Constitution, Article 4, Section 30A, reads similarly for villages and includes a mandate that the money be used for construction, reconstruction, maintenance, repair, policing, signing, lighting, and cleaning roads and streets, and for the payment of principal and interest on indebtedness on account of road and street purposes, and the use thereof being subject to such other provisions and restrictions as provided by law. Well, the other provided by law is that County Aid Road Trust Fund shall be used solely within the county for construction, reconstruction, maintenance, repairs of roads, bridges, and highways.
Didn't that say municipal township? Isn't that what that says?
And a village is a village a township.
Is it a municipal township?
It says Missouri Township.
So...
Well, it reads... Okay.
Because it isn't a municipal township like the city of Camden, the city of Osage Beach.
No, it's not. It's a village. Right. So,
it is somewhat ambiguous.
It is, and quite candidly, when you come to Missouri law, as you and I have discussed many times, there are seems to be contradicting statutes.
Is there a financial or criminal penalty?
I certainly doubt that.
Anywhere in that?
No. For
doing it a little differently? Does it say anything like, if you deviate from this, violate this, you're guilty of blah, 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 blah?
No.
So what's the penalty? You see what I'm saying? If you make this change and somebody kind of doesn't really like it, it's kind of, so what?
Well, we've discussed this before. It seems like there's an awful lot of Missouri statute that are kind of that way. Here's what the statute says, but there's no penalty held for it. Now, is there some blanket penalty that can be found out there somewhere? I don't know. There's a time in my life I kind of wanted to be a lawyer, and I still think it would be kind of fun, but I don't know if I'd want to be in Missouri, because I'll tell you, man, the statutes just bounce all over the place.
Our laws are atrocious.
They're crazy.
Yeah, they really are.
And one does seem to contradict the other. So then you have to figure out which one has the higher authority, right?
Right. So the village, they were holding this money up, but now they've agreed to pass the money on. Because really all they are is a pass-through.
Well, I don't know about agreed. Here's what happened. So these individuals, as I said, used the word colluded to withhold this money And they were going to use this money as kind of a carrot or a stick, as it were, to engage with the road district. There's been an ongoing problem out in the villages. They evidently have some form of a bike and walking trail that has been going through, and it's about 8 miles, I come to find out, that has gone through the village and the Four Seasons area for a very long time. And it was done, can't tell you how long ago, at least 20 years ago or maybe, that this was done. And at one time I asked them, well, how did we come up with this? And I was told very distinctly that it was because of well, that's just the way we used to do it, was a backroom deal and a handshake. So if that's the case, then there's nothing in writing that says that this thing is an actual bike path. So we tried to bring them to the table to have a public meeting, and they refused to have that public meeting because they allege that they had been told.
Who is they?
The village.
Okay.
That they had been told by a presiding commissioner of Camden County that they would get what they needed. They were trying to get a federal grant. They were trying to get a federal grant for about $400,000 so that they could improve this this bike and walk path. Well, to be able to do that, they had to have the easement from the county. So the county had to give them easement over all of this property because that is where a lot of this bike path is on the county right-of-way. So we would have to give them easement to be able to do what they need to do on that property. Well, not only does this bike path go through our part of the county, as it were, being the county, it also goes through private property. So if the county now gave up easement for what it has so that they could do this bike path, they would then have to figure out how to get easement to go across private property. And they've actually discussed using some sort of a prescriptive easement or eminent domain of one nature or another to basically take this property in one fashion or another. And I personally am 100% opposed to doing things that way. If people don't want to give up their property or a chunk thereof for this bike path, I don't see it going forward.
Well, and that's not the purpose of government. You know, how did the county come across these easements to begin with?
I think they're along utility lines and along the roads.
Okay, so these easements were put into effect sometime, we don't know when, a long time ago.
Sure.
And they were put in for utilities.
And roads.
And roads. Yeah, not for bike paths.
No.
Utilities, roads, those types of things, that is a function of government.
Sure, right.
A bike path is a wish. It's a wish list. It may be a nice thing to do. I'm not knocking bike paths. I have nothing against them at all. Sure. In fact, I enjoy them. I think they're quite nice. That you got that Magic Dragon Trail bike path, which is pretty nice. I'm just simply saying that government securing right-of-ways for what we all agree is a government use, roads, and easements off of roads and potentially utilities, should not equate to turning over those easements for a bike path. That is not how government should work.
And if they do want it that way, then one of my next questions would have been, or would be if we ever have this meeting, is are you ready for anybody within Camden County to come out and walk on your trail? Because if it is a publicly funded trail, then it's a public trail, right? You can't say it's off limits to anybody unless you live in the Village of Four Seasons, the way I look at it, especially since it's county property that you want to go across. So there's a lot of little problems with this, but this is really the crux of why this money is being withheld.
It was held up.
Exactly, it is, because the road district maintains, I think, and I don't want to speak for them, it's just the way I kind of understand how things are going. They do an incredibly, and I just recently met like the 7 people that do the entire job out there for Horseshoe Bend Road Special Road District. They do a phenomenal job with the little bit of stuff that they have. They maintain their equipment very well. They have high standards for all that they do, and they do a beautiful job on their roads.
It does seem like that.
They've
got pretty nice roads.
They really do. And do they have the extra money to do it? Yes, they do. But at the same time, with what extra they have versus what they have to do, they just make it all work very well. And the way they do that is because they watch every single penny and dollar that they spend. They spend it only in the most wise manners that they possibly can. And there's very little to no waste of their monies. So when the village withholds some $40-something thousand like this, I think it's $42,000 and change. When they withhold something like that, you're not just talking about a few loads of asphalt or some salt and
somebody's job.
Exactly right, my friend. You're talking about somebody's salary right there that you might wind up having to cut out. So you're talking about people's livelihoods. You're talking about families putting food on the table, and we're having this petty discussion about whether we want to maybe put in some sort of a bike path or something, or to improve this bike path that already exists and walking trail for $40-some-odd thousand that the road district very desperately needs, especially at this end of the year when bills are really coming due. So, and not only that, only 2 of the 5 members of that board knew any of this was going on. And I will have to tell you, the other 3 members were quite hot about it. And the 3 members got together and they voted that this money would be turned over no later than the close of business Monday. So,
well, that's good for them.
It's good for them. It got resolved. I think that we will not have the issue going forward. But as I told them in public meeting, that the rules did not exist for monies to be going directly to the road district. That is the way we will proceed in the future. And come January 1, we might be looking at things to being just a little bit different there.
Well, 2 things. It seems like, they're basically, I think you and I pretty much agree there are limited functions of government.
Absolutely.
What government actually should be doing as opposed to what they are doing. And it seems like government wants to take on more and more responsibility all the time. And the more you take on, the worse the obligations you already have begin to be delivered to the citizens, I guess you might say. You start falling apart at the seams because you have too many things you're trying to do instead of doing the limited number of things you're supposed to be doing really well. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Your work,
sure, right.
Your services become mediocre because you're doing too much.
That is 100% correct. Yes. And if you do have that much to do, you can't focus on the things that you're really supposed to be doing.
And it's a mindset that people have developed over generations. It's a generational mindset, and it needs to be, I don't know, you want to use the term broken, but it needs to be changed. People need to start, in my opinion, need to start looking at, and when I talk about people, I'm talking about people in government. They need to start looking at doing things differently. Instead of just being a cog in the wheel and the machinery keeps running the way it keeps going, because eventually the machinery breaks down.
It does, and I think the citizenry need to look at that too. What are you asking your government to do?
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah. Are you asking them to do things they really shouldn't be doing, like a bike path?
Yes, right. Now, that being said, if a municipality, you have city parks, right? So if a municipality owns a chunk of property that belongs to that municipality, or if the county just wanted, if the county through the people wanted to make it a priority to have these bike paths and we wanted to put it on these easements and so forth, then I suppose we could do that. And we may be talking to the people in the future to find out. But my biggest issue we had here, and I think we'll have the same problem going forward, is that this bike path, walk trail, whatever you want to call it, goes across private property as well.
I think the county would be stepping into potential lawsuits by doing this. So it sounds to me like you've avoided lawsuits, which the county doesn't need any more of.
No, we don't.
So that's a good thing. Now, real quick, before we move on, does the village, to your knowledge, maybe you don't know this, does the village have authority over the special road district?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
They are county employees.
The road district?
That's correct.
Okay.
They are county employees.
Okay. So
now they have their own budget.
So then the village is really nothing more than a pass-through for money.
Correct.
Okay. And if we can eliminate that, to me, that would be a good thing to do.
Now, I'd say that they may, I don't know if they would be able to direct, hey, we've got a road over here that's falling apart, or there's a big pothole over here. I know you got a pothole over there as well, but this pothole's more important. We want you to get that one filled in first. I don't know if they have that authority, to be quite candid with you. I'll find that out. That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, I guess we have to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of the village? Like, what? Well, I'm not saying they don't have a purpose. I'm just saying, what is it? What do they do? You don't know?
No, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know either.
What does the city do? I guess they do
Well,
similar
the
things.
city provides services, police and fire and water and sewer and that kind of stuff.
I think they probably hold, so although the county deals with the policing out there, they kind of have their own little substation. And although they are a member of the county, their county deputies, they are paid for by the village, Four Seasons.
Okay.
So
the village doesn't provide directly police. They don't provide fire.
No, they pay for them through.
Do they manage the water and sewer system?
I think through. Yes.
Okay, so maybe that's what it is.
There's some of those things that they probably yes they direct, and they got a heck of a park. I noticed right behind the administrative building, and they've even got a skate park and all kinds of fun stuff. So neat park there. I wonder how open that is to the
Sure.
public.
So we got about 4 or 5 minutes before we need to hit a break, and I think we need to move on, if we could, to some other things. Now, we want to talk about the remodel. That's going to take up a big chunk of our second hour here, I think.
Yeah, sure.
So let's talk about, in the limited time that we have, some of the goals that you have, the plans that you have. You made roads a major issue in your campaign. You made transparency, real transparency, not just lip service to transparency, but real transparency, a big part of your campaign. And a big part of that is getting live streaming or some sort of a recording in the commission. Right now, the commission is kind of all over the place because of the remodel that is going on. What are your plans going forward to establish clear meeting procedures, how they're going to be conducted, so that there's not free-for-alls in these meetings? They're actually operated efficiently and they're operated professionally. What do you expect from people who are speaking, that kind of thing? And what do you want to do about getting this recording system available? We don't need an elaborate system. We just need to get something out to the public. What are your thoughts on that?
So I want to preface this by saying I have a lot of different things that I want to try to accomplish. I want to look at, explore, but none of them are going to be done in a dictatorial fashion necessarily. It's all going to be reviewed by the other two commissioners. So anything I tell you right now, it's not that, by golly, we're going to do this. It's going to be discussed, and we're going to try to do this. So,
Sure.
So one of the first things I've done, I've reached out to Sean Colber, a local citizen here in Camden County that already records a lot of what we do and videotapes it. He's going to help us walk through, again, if the other commissioners want to do this. He'll walk us through setting up a YouTube channel. It'll be very easy to function once it's set up, and quite candidly, I should be able to, or one of the other commissioners should be able to turn on their cell phone, get onto our YouTube page, set it on a tripod, hit record, and it'll directly stream right into our YouTube channel or something of that nature. As long as we have a good Wi-Fi spot, then we should be able to do that, so that they'll be live, they'll be recorded. Now, the only thing that I will do on a YouTube channel is it will be for informational purposes only. There'll be no interaction. We'll probably turn the comments off. But it will be there for people to be able to listen and to watch, and it'll be a recording for all the future. So I hope to be able to do that even once we're back into the main courthouse building, so that the big system that we have there can also feed right through this YouTube channel. I think that just makes it very efficient. It's easy. It's there. Anybody can watch it, and it'll be completely transparent. The other thing I want to do is have working sessions. There's, to my knowledge, not been any public working sessions by the commission. The sunshine regulations require us to really not sit down and talk about a lot of things together. Some things we can, some things we can't. So I think it might be smarter to ensure that we're within the laws and with sunshine, that the things that we sit down, maybe even a couple of times a week, and just talk about things and what we feel about different issues, what we see coming up in the future. Hey, did you get this done, or did you get that done, or what's the status report on this? Or, we wanted to, we're going to redo the Uniform Land Use Code and the master plan. Have you contacted anybody to help this with? So there'll be a lot of little things like that you'll be able to just come in and sit down and hear us talking about.
Well, that's great. So we'll take a little break, and when we get back, we'll finish up with some thoughts for Ike on kind of some of those things. And then maybe we'll get into this remodel, which is probably going to take up most of the second hour. So we'll see you in a little bit.